What's up? Yes, we changed up. So with freyna coming down the pipeline in literally, well, about a month from now, just wanted to go over what I think would be a decent rework for her. Remember, this is just my opinion. If you guys have your own opinions on how you think she would be better off as a rework, leave them in the comments below. But just being a person that has played shooters of this nature, like Warframe, Destiny, things like that. Um, Reyna is kind of in a really weird space right now. And with discussions that I've had with the people in my community and my chat as well while I've been streaming, these are some things that I would personally like to see for her to be changed. So that way she's a little bit more effective and has some more, I guess, identity as far as where to take her. Because as of right now, she doesn't really have the burst damage, and we're kind of in a burst meta, so she's really just DOA at the moment, unless they change something for the second half of the season one that's coming on the 10th of October. But let's go ahead and get into it. Um, Overall, I really don't like her ultimate ability. I'm not a fan. I mean, I understand it's a gun, but I'm just going to work, I guess I'm going to work backwards and then go back to the passive. What I would like to see for her four would be some kind of accelerant for her toxins, like however many stacks you have on, it instantly procs all of them at the same time, and then you start back from zero again to reproc. Or what it can do is give you max stacks faster, or there's a transmod that changes it to get more stacks. I understand you're still in the dot damage, but I believe if you do the version where you just proc all the stacks instantly, that would help her out with the burst meta, so that way all the damage is front loaded at that point. You don't have to worry about the dots. Yeah, you may still have to throw it on there and everything like that for mobbing, but we'll get into that for some synergy as far as like her other abilities. Now, what I think you could do for the puddle, instead of the instead of throwing that down, what I think you could do was do something kind of like, I guess the prime example would be Saren. And if you've played Warframe, this is going to be basically a direct comparison, because this game did take some inspiration from Warframe, and I think it'd be better suited if Freyna kind of went in that direction as far as like burst damage, and she'd be better off farming that way as well. So what you could do with the three, and I was talking to this with my chat, I think she'd be better off with some kind of like toxin, like molt or something like that, or even some kind of like a insta proc max stacks of poison. Like if you hit them, it automatically gives them max stacks of the poison, so that way you can go into your four, your ultimate. So that way it kind of, she would have some viability for mobbing and things like that, especially with her contagion, because if you proc all that damage and they explode, then it resets on the other mobs, and rinse and repeat. Another alternative, what I would like to see maybe for the three, I'm just trying to think here, spitball would be, what else? Because I mean, the putrid venom, people just walk out of it. So something like maybe like a slow or some kind of immobilizer to keep them in it, so that way their stacks build up, because I know they when they walk out of it, they leave the footprints and everything like that. But some kind of hindrance, like a slow, like a Viesa's ability or something like that. I know you can't really slow with toxin, but it'd be nice to have something of that nature. And I know Valby's kind of in that same area, but hers does a little bit more damage because she doesn't have an element. So that would be where I'm kind of feeling the three. I mean, I'm more of a fan of doing some kind of decoy, kind of like Esimo when he does his decoy, something like that. I know you'd be kind of going in the same way as a Saren, but I think it would fit better in her kit. Now, as far as bossing, uh, there'd have to be a transmod, something for it. I mean, you could use it for a boss, and the boss hits it, and they get poison stacks on it or whatever, because we're going to end up changing her too, which is the defensive boost, into something else. So you could do that for that instance as well. Have it to where you put on the boss. Boss shoots it just like a Jaber's turret or something like that. It taunts. Boss hits it, gets the poison stacks. They ramp up relatively quickly for that ability. So let's say instead of you getting like what is it like one stack every 0.3 seconds, I believe. I think it's like one every 0.3. You get a stack every 0.1 seconds. So that way, 1.5 seconds you should be at max stacks, and you proc the ult right there and you do your front damage. It's a little bit quicker that way. So that's what I would see. That's what I would see for something like that. And Vigo was saying what snare toxic vines. I could see that too. That would be I think that would be a pretty good idea. But something along those lines, I would like to see for her. We're just trying to, all in all, we're trying to give her some more viability in this current meta that we're in, because you can still take her. Don't get me wrong. You can still take her out and do what you want to do, but there's other descendants that are more efficient at what you're trying to take her out to do. Also, I kind of want to, me personally, I kind of want to see more freynas in bossing fights, but there's a lot of bosses that have poison resistances, so she kind of just, with her doing dot damage and them having resistances, it kind of just lowers her damage down tremendously. Now for her too, this is something I would like to see more of a stem. Like she puts it on instead of it doing body armor. I would like to see her get some kind of poison pen. This is, like I said, I'm aiming more so for this to be like a bossing thing. Like you give her poison pen and maybe defense instead. I think you can still do that. I think that would work relatively well. Like, so when she shoots, she has poison penetration on her gun, or she can imbue her gun with poison penetration. It also puts stacks. So you're essentially taking that 4 and slotting it over to the 2 and giving it poison penetration along with building up stacks. And instead of it being another gun she pulls out, she just literally slaps it on her gun and goes to work right then and there. So you could, I believe she would still be okay with giving her the defense, and then you slap it on the poison onto the weapon she's holding instead of you pulling out another weapon. So that way you're staying in sync with everything else. You don't have to do the wonky transition of pulling out another gun. And I think that flows a lot better that way with the poison pen. Because if you put the pen on there, it's like a debuff. You could do it. You could do it kind of like Haley's, but I think the poison pen would be, I think it's better off, because then you could slap it on like an Enduring Legacy. So that way you're doing 2 elements of like fire and poison. You're putting the poison stacks on them. Then you can proc the 4 to do all that front loaded damage, or with that burst damage at the end, because by the time you're going to be at the max stacks in a matter of seconds. So you're in line with all the other descendants. So that's how I would look at the 2. Now the 1, I really don't have an issue with the 1. I just think the stacks need to happen a little bit faster. The 1 I'm okay with, just the ramping up of the stacks. I would say instead of it being 1 second, or no, that's the damage ticks. I just need the ticks to ramp up a little bit faster. That's basically it. Her 1's fine. Her 2 and her 2, 3, and 4 would be the ones that change. So I think that would flow really well, because then you can throw that proc the defense and poison pen on her 2. Instead of the puddle, you get like a poison vine or a taunt, however you want to set that up. Like I said, you go in the same vein as like an SMO, or you can even do it as like a Saren if you wanted to, but that'd be kind of like, okay. I think SMO would probably be the better bet. It's like a poison clone of herself or something like that. It taunts the boss hits it, they get the stacks applied to them. Maybe not max stacks, but they get like, let's say maybe 10 stacks from hitting the boss or something like that, just to help her speed up her damage in a boss fight. And then the 4, like I said, instead of that being the gun, I think she needs to do something like where she snaps, detonates all the poison stacks on the enemy, and then if they die, they explode. Same thing as like a contagion. And then as far as the numbers, that would be for them to figure out, but I think that would flow a lot better with her kit and also make her more competitive in this current meta that we're in. Now her passive, I don't have an issue with her passive if we're going the way that I was talking about per se. Um, because what 15? Yeah, I mean you could do okay. So if it's 15, let me just circle back. 15, you can do this. Make it like seven stacks for the boss hitting the decoy or something like that. Like give her half of the stacks right then and there. Because then she'll be, or you can even increase it, increase the max stacks to like what would be a nice number, 25. Because if you're doing an imbuement on her two, right, for her gun, you're going to be at the max stacks within a couple of seconds if you have like an enduring legacy or any kind of rapid fire gun with her two. You're at the max stacks, and the power increase I'm okay with. You can even change it to where maybe it's more pen if you wanted to go that route. But either way, or maybe you lower it down instead of it being 1.2%. Actually 1.2. So you're looking at a 12% increase. I mean, you could stick with that, make it, hell, you can even make it 30 if you wanted to. It's somewhere, it just has to be, I think if you're going to change it that way, you up the amount of stacks that she has, or you change it to where you lower the toxic skill power increase because you're going to be stacking so fast. So she's going to already be there repeatedly with that rotation. Now, another mod that I would like to see, I mean, she already has the Contagion, which is like one of her better farming mods. Now, this one, I think instead of it doing the plague body armor, it should do the same thing except for the armor. It gives that imbuement of the weapon to her teammates. Change this to the same thing that it does right now. Instead of it being the armor, it gives the whole party. It would give the whole party the toxin imbuement on their weapon. So everybody's doing more damage with dots, and that also stacks onto the boss, which helps her with her stacks of poison. So I think that would probably be a better mod for her. Now, as far as the new ones, because we get new ones with the ultimate descendant, that's going to be a little bit tough because I don't know what they're planning. But if they were to change it this way, I think one of the ones that they would have to change would be her first ability to make it. Shoot, I don't even know, to be honest with you. If they did it something for the ultimate descendant, they're probably going to change the first ability, and that would have to be, instead of maybe just a power increase, a skill power increase, and instead of it being a puddle, I mean, shoot, let's just go with the same route as Saren. It puts a, let's say it changes it to a spore. She throws a spore on him, she shoots it, it explodes in an area and puts the toxins on everybody around her, or everybody around the enemy that she shoots. It'd have to be a pretty decent sized spore too. I mean, I'm trying to do a comparison to Saren, but not do a 1-for-1. And I think that'd probably be the better way to go for this, where she just looks at it and then puts the spore on them. It has to be like, kind of, you do the same thing. It's kind of like the orbs that you have on the bosses where you're shooting it. It'd be like a big spore. You shoot it, boom, it explodes, and it's all over all the enemies. So that would help, with the clear. I understand it'd be kind of the same thing, but there's not really many other ways to change these other abilities. But I know there's going to be at least one, if not two, ultimate transcendent mods for the ultimate version. Or maybe it'd be a passive. Instead of toxic skill power increase, it goes toxic pen. It changes it to toxic pen, and then it changes the amount of stacks. That could work for an ultimate descendant. But I mean, that's pretty much everything that we've covered. I think that would flow really well, in my opinion, with her kit. Instead of you having to take out the gun, like I said, it'd be a quick explosion. I don't know how you want to animate it, but quick explosion, detonate all the stacks. You get your front loaded damage right there. and then you rinse, repeat, go back, throw the 1 on there. You imbue your weapon with the 2. You get the defense, imbue your weapon equipped. You're not bringing out another weapon. You imbue your weapon with poison. So like an Enduring Legacy or something, put your stacks back on there. You can go back to the 4 again to detonate it for more damage. The 3 would be some kind of like slow or grapple, or not grapple, but some kind of immobilize or something like that, or even a defensive shred. You can even do a defensive shred with her 3. That'd be a good way to go. Or maybe even make a transcendent mod where it changes that to a defensive shred, according to how many stacks the enemy has. So, so that's pretty much where I would like to see her go in that direction. I know they're working on it right now, but if they happen to see this, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I don't know how many people out there in the community would, but I think that would put her in a better place as far as keeping up with like the Bunnies, the Lepics, the Haleys. She would have a place as far as like bossing, and she could still do her current mobbing, even though she won't be as efficient as, you know, other characters, but she would have more of an identity. Because especially if that new boss is coming out is poison resistant, because then you're just like, well, what do I do now? So I hope you all kind of enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know what you guys think as far as what you would like to see change for her. You know, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. I'm sure you hear it a million other times, but I just wanted to get this out there and put my thoughts of what I think would really work for her, because I was a Saren main in Warframe, and she's near and dear in my heart, and I want to main her, but I'm just like, there's no point right now. But if they get the changes correct, I will be a freyna main going forward. So you can hold me to that in this video. But I'll see you all in the next one, and I'm out of here. Later, everybody.